There's something very important because this knowledge is shooting around on the internet. But a lot of these people who've done a lot of work in an online community, they haven't physically encountered each other. Immortality fascinates me, but physicality equally fascinates me.
Yes.
You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, anyway,
Beautiful.
thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you
Thank
for.
Paula.
Thank you.
If you want to say any closing.
Well, I loved watching you dance.
Oh, thank you.
I thought your body looked beautiful.
Coming from
I
you
love
is a
that.
real compliment.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you
love
very
that.
much.
Open their hearts and open up every cell and atom of their body to a whole new way of life. You might think physical mortality is crazy, but I think death is crazy.
Yeah,
And
Okay, so welcome to Rabbit Hole Central TV. I have a lot of material to go over today. I just want to say that my nose is fine, and I was troubleshooting the other day using castor oil and green clay. And I feel that a lot of the problems that we have are really problems that have simple solutions if you understand the balance of the 5 elements. And I think even in the case of cancer, some of you remember that I rolled in a tape on Ayurveda, and it was translated, you know, the Indian doctor is probably speaking Malayalam. I think he was in Kerala in the south that used to be known for all of the herbs and the spices coming from that part of India. That's down in the south. Amaji, the great hugging guru, comes from there. And also most of the Indians that have immigrated come from this part of India. It also has the highest number of Christians, the highest literacy rate, and the highest suicide rate. So in any case, this doctor who learned from his father, who learned from his father and his father and his father, going down like that, cited 20 different kinds of cancer. And it was not such a terrifying thing in that framework. But what I'm saying is is just do simple observations yourself. And with simple observations, my simple observation is I think a lot of problems are caused by mold. In other words, you have too much of the water element, not enough of the wind or the air element to sort of dry it out so that you use the water to purify. If you just sort of muck around sort of in a semi-purified state, you can't sort of have that natural movement that you want to have. Earth, air, fire, and water, it's all a different play. So the green clay would be sort of like the earth element, and what it does is it sort of soaks up, you know, anything. And I first was introduced to this when I was doing a lot of fasting in Cyprus. I think for 6 weeks I ate only grapes, and I was constipated for the first couple days because if you don't chew the seeds of the grapes, you don't get those valuable pycnogenol's. And since I learned what I did from the grape fast with my own body, that once I was chewing up the seeds, it became a phenomenal fast because the sugar, the natural sugars from the grapes, go up into your brain, and so you think more brilliant thoughts than ever before. Also, since I was living on the island of Cyprus, and you know, I had just become a millionaire, and I had a wonderful husband that was doing the same kind of things. We met at a yoga seminar. Even though he didn't speak any English, he quickly learned. And so we were sort of the natural focal point for an eco-village project in Cyprus. And we were mostly experimenting on ourselves, you know, all this fasting, and he was also a really good cook. When we broke the fast, while we were fasting, we used to sit on the beach and sort of dream up recipes, and it was interesting with all the sugar going to our brain from the grapes. We could like plan the meals, discuss the meals, sort of finish them, and have the dishes all done, all in our mind, and then we'd go into the sea. And the Mediterranean is a wonderful temperature. And I felt, I'd read a book, Sunlight Can Save Your Life by Dr. Keim, and I was very intrigued about the health benefits of sunlight. But I wanted to write to him to say, you know, there's health benefits to salt water, because I felt when we were in the Mediterranean, normally I'd go in for, you know, 5 or 10 minutes, just splash around. But when you're kind of like in this fasting zone, and again with the grapes, it's a wonderful fast, we would stay in for an hour and a half. But it was just kind of like this harmony with nature. So anyway, I don't have that opportunity anymore here living in Manhattan to do that type of thing, but I gained a lot from it, and so I like to troubleshoot. And the other day I saw something on the end of my nose, and I thought, let's see if I can nip that at the bud, so that was successful. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to take calls at 12:30, because I have a whole bunch packed. But I want to talk about, I had the great opportunity to have lunch yesterday with that thoughtful viewer who met me through Howard Stern. Very different person than Jim the Linux Guru, who also found me through Howard Stern. Jim is in Columbus, Ohio. I'm going to see him next week, and he's helping with the website. But you know, it's only a part-time thing, so do not judge him for the sake of for the condition of the website. I have to put more energy into it, and what I want to do with that website is sort of do what I'm good at, which is retail knowledge. Like I'll go to wholesalers like Nico Haupt and others, any who cared to email me. That's why I go through all my 200 emails every day, because I learned so much from people. Just what played on MNN right before I started this was a DVD that I got in the mail about Tavistock, and I was very intrigued with that. I did the 51% deal. You have to have 51% of your blah blah blah, and according to MNN, then that passes snuff for the fair use. But in this very interesting conversation, he told me to write a thank you note to Howard Stern, and it's true I should do that. I just always was a little bit confused about who invited me or how it happened, and I would say up until it actually happened, I didn't know if I was being spoofed or not. And I think that's a good thing about humor. We shouldn't take ourselves so seriously that we're all, you know, dour. But he pointed out that he thought it was very risky for me to keep my address out there. And that's what I'm going to dedicate this show to. And if I have enough time, I'm going to do some roll-ins of a breast cancer awareness benefit that was given in the downtown area, and some of what happened there. You can imagine, yours truly, there was a potential for a real clash, because this is really near to me. Investigate the death of Dan Wallace. I'm very concerned about how a 23-year-old, I feel, in good health, very motivated to be a new leader of the truth movement. He had just been given Nico Haupt's research, and he was the son of a fallen firefighter. You know, that's close to me. But this breast cancer stuff is super close to me, because my breasts were involved with this. And I don't know if I'll have enough time on this, but please, those of you who are following me for this, I will gain my balance and I will put my attention on that. For now, what I want to do is flip you over and show you the what happens if you go to Google and you type in "We Are Change." This is the group that I'm supposed to be causing such heartache to, and also the group that I'm saying you should be very, very cautious about, because their knowledge might not serve you, as well as knowledge that is more complete about the World Trade Center, and thus is going to be more effective for your own life. Recently, We Are Change members have been viciously attacked by provocateurs. Well, do I look vicious? And is there any footage that you can find of me and you can post where I'm acting violent? Now, the person that I went to lunch with wrote the very thoughtful email, being a viewer that's not very savvy to the following that I have in 9/11 Truth, saying, my very presence at St. Mark's Church was enough to stimulate nonviolence. Therefore, if I'm really nonviolent, I shouldn't have been there. But what Molly pointed out was, isn't St. Mark's a platform where you can investigate and discuss all these things? St. Mark's, by the way, is different from We Are Change, but it seems I'm become a problem to both these groups. So it goes on. You can Google it up yourself and see what's happening. Now, what I want to show you, though, is an email that I got from info@wearechange.org. And what this says is, you're a Fed and a provocateur. Your operation has already been exposed. You are a traitor to this country. You will reap what you sow. Well, I am so happy that you know about the principle of cause and effect, of karma. What you put out comes back to you. I know in my heart the intentions of what I have when I put out what I put out. So I certainly do know I'm going to reap what I sow. But I think that we are change people should be wondering who has access and who is sending out from info at wearechange.org in Colorado, that they would put this out. You're a Fed and a provocateur. I think you should be very, very careful with labels and be able to substantiate what you're saying. I was very careful. I didn't use the label war criminal when I was on Harold Channer's show, but sometimes I do use labels. It's kind of a political shorthand, but I gave the information, and the information had to do with if you're a scientist and you participated in suppressing knowledge that could have liberated people, and your suppressing actually led directly to war, then that's a definition of a war criminal. Of course, I should be careful with that definition because I'm not a great believer that punishment ever works. Now what I want to do is get on to my answering machine here, and so you get an idea.
No messages.
Oh, shoot.
No messages.
Let's see if I can. I'm going to stop this for a second. I'm going to pause this.
Hey, Paula.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the phone lines right now because it seems as though that message got lost, which was really, really a pity. Because when Victor Taplin heard it, he was very concerned, and I really, really wanted to work with that message because I felt that it was people that said, don't be bothering, we are change. And he was really making an exerted effort, I felt, even though Victor thought it was scary, and he wanted to make sure I had protection in the house, or, you know, again, not to be giving my address out and so on. But I felt that this was exactly the kind of person that I wanted to connect with, because I felt he really was trying hard not to be mean and nasty. When he was using the labels, it was just his frustration. And if I'm ever going to use punishment and blame, any blame for ignorance, I put at the feet of those who have knowledge. I think it's very important that if you have knowledge, it must be shared, because if you don't share it, what you're going to have is the quote-unquote white trash that do not have strong traditions in their backgrounds of churches or synagogues that is advancing and giving a lot of attention to scholarship and to study, and also to the arts, to harmony and beauty. It's very important when you cultivate a life well lived that all of these elements are there. I'm so sorry that somehow that message got erased, because it was really valuable. Let me see if I can push it harder and get it.
No messages.
Yeah, it just got, darn, it got erased. But anyway, I'm now open for calls. If anybody has any comments, I just wanted to put that out. If any of you want to call me up again and leave me quote-unquote nasty messages, I'll work with it. Absolutely, for sure. I wanted to say, again, just as at ground zero, when Webb Ferry was carrying the sign that said, "Investigate the death of Dan Wallace," that was a sign that I created, and I had it just behind my bicycle, but I wasn't walking around with it. The reason I wasn't walking around with it is when I said I didn't have the courage comes from some idea that you have the ability to pull off something. Obviously, if more people are in your camp, if more people come down and help promote this position, if people come forward and find a physical location, or maybe St. Mark's will give no-planers a separate day where they can meet independently of those who find that I'm an agent and a provocateur, because equally I and others can say the same for those who are blocking information. So as I was at ground zero, actually it was Matt Lepasic who came up and stood 4 or 5 feet in front of me. I had just been on Howard Stern. They had given me the information that I had 17,000 attempted calls. I knew that all of the calls that actually funneled through that I got to see on my computer were still fake calls. They were entertaining. It was nice that they take care of their audience because they were sort of signaling to longtime Howard Stern viewers that these were insiders. Like they'd say, I lost my relative in the World Trade Center. And then they would give the name of somebody who was the name of somebody at Howard 101 that does the news. 101. They don't like to say 101. 101. So Howard 101 News, this person, you know that he's doing the news. So that's sort of a signal that this is light and humorous. Now, I think humor is very, very important, but there's a time and there's a place, and it's good that we can look back at ourselves and see that under the circumstances, I think we made a heroic effort. I know nobody's happy with what I've done. The planers say that I didn't take the opportunity to give more concise information about the no planes position, all the way to say we went to war over cartoons means that people are thinking, oh, you believe that cartoons knocked over the World Trade Center. No, of course you don't believe that. Obviously the World Trade Center is gone. Obviously people have been killed. And like I did say on Howard Stern, when I heard about 9/11 denial, that sort of perked me up to think, well, gee, I wonder what's involved with this Holocaust denial. Are they doing the same kind of thing? So I do hope to go back on to Howard Stern, particularly after having this nice luncheon with this thoughtful viewer, and see if I can do something about the Holocaust. And also, he said, you have to make it Howard-esque. So I have to do something grabby like why I don't have sex anymore, you know. And I'm totally up to making myself vulnerable and putting myself out there. I think a lot can happen with it. I told the thoughtful viewer who took me to lunch that I don't mind being ridiculed, but I do have to be concerned when it starts to affect the message. And the fact that somebody, not a no-planer, but the opposite, this was Les Jameson, felt that my show didn't make him and his cause look good. So for that reason, I didn't get to speak about nonviolent communication and corporations at St. Mark's Church. So, you know, boo-hoo for that too. So I don't care about being ridiculed, but I do care about advancing knowledge that will save people's lives. It can be something as simple as knowing when to jump on a cure before it gets so escalated that you need really costly health care, and also health care that I think is very questionable. Or it could be getting out of Iraq, really understanding how we got into Iraq, and then blowing the whistle on those forces that is making America be viewed as something that I feel is far worse than how the Nazis were viewed. That's how we're being viewed overseas. And for those people who travel, and who travel, you know, not in a luxurious way, but if you take second-class sleepers in India, of course India is very pro-America, but if you go into other countries, unlike India, where they're really being rained upon with weapons, I think you're going to see that we need to correct this image that people have of Americans overseas. Rabbit Hole Central.
Is this the glamorous Paula Gloria who makes hair rollers look beautiful?
Oh, is this Ugly George, who makes the word ugly look wonderful?
Is this the blonde sex symbol of the airwaves?
Thank you, George. Let me get your website up. What's up?
What's up is everything. What a thrill to have you for lunch the other day.
Yeah, with Victor Taplin, you know, on Irving Place. That was so nice.
That was terrific. The New
No. That's not possible. He leaves. He's very devoted to a woman that he's soon going to marry. But I was thinking as a spoof to say, is Nico Hitler's the secret love child of Howard Stern and Paula Gloria? I thought that might be kind of
he's
fun.
Probably the secret love child of Adolf and you know who, right? and I see you have Ugly George up
Yeah.
doing his thing with the bosomy babes. You realize, of all people, that bosoms have never gone out of style.
Right. I know. And I also, for a logo, I have to get it sharper. I have a Grecian goddess in Crete. And
Right.
in Crete, she's holding snakes to show mastery of the kundalini, or the sexual energy that's the basis of good health care. It's even more fundamental than remedies. And she, like the women of the times, is bare-breasted. In this society, breasts
I have
were
to tell you
honored.
that morons look at the snakes, but real men look at her boobs.
Okay, so anyway, I'm glad you called because I'd like to. Do you want to announce our idea, or should I do it?
No, you can announce that we're probably going to do something soon.
Okay, Victor Taplin has recorded some of the episodes in the Polish penthouse. And Victor and you kind of met for the first time, not just like in Harold Channer's parties, but when
Yeah.
we were really able to sit down and talk. And I think both of you really learned about each other. And I was really excited because I felt it's going to be a fabulous show that we do with you and Victor. You as the producer of the Ugly George show that really got cable access to get subscribers. And then Victor as one of the viewers at that time. So he's looking at through his old beta tapes, I guess you call it.
Right.
And what we're going to try to do is, after I come back from Columbus, here at the little humble Rabbit Hole Central, we'll see if we can get this machine so it rolls into my switcher, or maybe he can switch it on to a mini DV, and then with the mini DV, then I can roll it on, and then.
Well, I'm getting a beta machine. You know how good the beta machine is?
How good?
It's a master beta.
Hang on, George, a second. Rabbit Hole Central.
Hi, this is Dave Kuski with the Internal Revenue Service.
Uh-huh.
I was returning a call from Paula Saconas.
Oh, I'm so glad you called. Can I call you back, or can you call in a half hour? Because I had some questions about the Concordia Foundation.
Okay.
Or maybe I can ask you right now, because I know how
are
hard.
you there?
Yes.
Okay, you can ask right now.
Yes, let me ask you right now. When I created my charity, I did not create it to take in donations. I was the sole donor, and I had, so much at that time that I wasn't even thinking of doing little $10 and $20 here and there. But since that time, my fortune has changed, and the charity was sort of in mothballs for a couple years. And I filed all my back returns, with 000 zeros. So I'm current, but what I want to know is on the original letter of determination, I'm pretty sure I checked a box that said, will you take donations? And I said no, and I'd like to change that, and I want to know, how do I change that?
Okay.
Rabbit Hole Central. Hello. Anyway, when I get back from Columbus, we're going to have a great show with Ugly George. Get back to the breasts here, because Ugly George was on this thing. I was changing it so I could. Anyway, this is the show that really got people to start subscribing to cable TV, and I hope that it will be able to help us do something which isn't just create an internet television station, but in this discussion about protecting the comments, it's really about a public forum. And that's what excites me, is to use the kind of talent that comes forward not for the sake of reward and punishment, but for the sake of love. Rabbit Hole Central.
Yeah, this is Ivanka, Trump's agent.
I'm sorry we got cut off.
Yes, okay. Ivanka has another boyfriend for you that she's discarding.
Okay.
Okay, do you want Ugly George Clooney?
That was Ivanka's boyfriend, Ugly George Clooney?
Absolutely, okay, and she's discarded him. All right, and he's gone with some little-known actress, so
Okay.
now he's available.
Maybe he can come
Okay.
on. Maybe he can come on
Ivanka
that.
wants to give him to you.
Maybe he can come on the Howard Stern show because I'm going to go back on and talk about why I don't have sex anymore.
Uh-oh. Okay, well,
That and the Holocaust.
after you meet ugly George Clooney, you'll want to jump into bed with him every night.
Every night, okay.
Okay? And if you talk to your friend Victor, tell him I'll call him later tonight.
Okay.
Don't do anything with those videos until
No,
we
no,
have
no.
a chance to re-edit them.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
I'll talk to you later, Glamorous Paula.
Thank you, George.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, bye.
So there we go. George doesn't like heavy topics like the Holocaust, but I'm hoping that I can get on the Howard Stern show again and talk about the Holocaust and why I don't have sex anymore. So this is really not quite the show that I had imagined, but what the heck, there you go. I wish I didn't have to cut out the IRS part, but I do because you're not supposed to record it. But I will certainly keep it for my reference because I found that agent really gave a lot of very valuable information.
New York Times is still talking about it. They're thinking of doing a special section on you being the secret mistress and lover of Howard Stern.
But I was thinking as a spoof to say, is Nico Hitler's the secret love child of Howard Stern and Paula Gloria? So I don't care about being ridiculed, but I do care about advancing knowledge that will save people's lives. It can be something as simple as knowing when to jump on a cure before it gets so escalated that you need really costly health care, and also health care that I think is very questionable. Or it could be getting out of Iraq, really understanding how we got into Iraq, and then blowing the whistle on those forces that is making America be viewed as something that I feel is far worse than how the Nazis were viewed. That's how we're being viewed overseas. And for those people who travel, and who travel, you know, not in a luxurious way, but if you take second-class sleepers in India, of course India is very pro-America, but if you go into other countries, unlike India, where they're really being rained upon with weapons, I think you're going to see that we need to correct this image that people have of Americans overseas. Whole Central?
Is this the glamorous Paula Gloria who makes hair rollers look beautiful?
Oh, is this Ugly George? Who makes the word ugly
Certainly
look
is.
wonderful.
Is this the blonde sex symbol of the airwaves?
Thank you, George. Let me get your website up. What's up?
What's up is everything. What a thrill to have you for lunch the other day.
Yeah, with Victor Taplin.